Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out on this rainy Wednesday night. My name is Mark Middlestead. I'm the Vice President of Appleton Historical Society. And every second Wednesday, we host the monthly presentation here at Appleton Public Library. So thanks to Katie back there, who's also on board of the Appleton Historical Society, for setting this up for us. Appreciate that. If you haven't visited the new Appleton History Museum, it's a half block away at 231 West Franklin Street. Tom back there at the table has some free tickets for you, so definitely stop and visit him. If you're not presently a member or want to renew your membership, you can also visit Tom back there. If you're on Facebook, please join the Appleton Historical Society Facebook group. You can be kept abreast of all the interesting things that are going on, weekly and monthly events. That's Appleton Historical Society on Facebook. Tonight's the July presentation, Brad Brautigam. I think most of you know him, right? Brad is an Appleton native whose family has a long history of serving the city of Appleton on the Appleton Fire Department. Brad began with AFD in 2003 and served until retiring as a lieutenant in 2023. His deep family connection to the department inspired him to volunteer as the AFD historian, preserving and sharing its rich legacy with the community. In 2011, he spearheaded a successful fundraising effort to repurchase Appleton's long-lost 1928 Seagrave Pumper. Representing the board of directors of the Friends of the Appleton Fire Department, 501c3, he served as project manager for the Revive Old Engine No. 5 campaign. Under his leadership, Engine 5 was refurbished and now serves in its second tour of duty with the AFD as a parade vehicle, a backdrop for public education events, and a fundraising centerpiece for local charities. Brad, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks everybody for coming out in the weather tonight. I appreciate it. Tonight, I would like to share with you the historical journey of Old Engine 5, the Appleton Fire Department's vintage 1928 Seagrave Pumper. This is the Appleton Fire Department's fleet of vehicles in 1925. It was comprised of one ladder truck, one chief's car, and 3 pumpers. The transition from horse-drawn equipment to fully mechanical rigs had been completed by 1920. This major change was an improvement to the fire service, but it was not without growing pains. So this station was on the southeast corner of this parking lot, 50 yards away, so I'm sure that some of you probably remember that from growing up. So, the 3-story brick building shown on this postcard was built in 1880. It was located on the southwest corner of College Avenue and Oneida Street. The structure housed the Commercial National Bank, a hardware store, offices, and the Masonic meeting rooms. In 1926, Irving Zilke, a local businessman and music store owner, purchased the property. He remodeled the building and added his name to the facade. On the evening of January 25th, 1928, a fire broke out in the basement beneath the Continental Clothing Store. Again. The Appleton Fire Department responded and quickly began fire attack on the large structure. By 11 p.m., mutual aid fire companies from Little Chute, Combined Locks, and Menasha had arrived on scene to assist with battling the blaze. The winter conditions that night were extreme. Heavy winds, low temperatures, and the formation of ice everywhere from the water flowing out of the nozzles greatly impeded the firefighting efforts. The AFD even brought out the retired horse-drawn steam engine out of storage to help try to fight the fire. It pumped water for about an hour and then it died. Despite the best efforts of the AFD and the mutual aid partners, the building was a complete loss. This is a view from the back of the old building. The water plant reported that 1.4 million gallons of water in total had been pumped between 9:20 Wednesday evening and 4:30 Thursday morning. The estimated loss was $250,000. In today's dollars, that would be the equivalent of about $5 million. After evaluating the Zilke Building fire, it was apparent to Fire Chief George McGillan that the Appleton Fire Department's 3 older American LaFrance pumpers were inadequate. Within a week, he began his campaign of imploring the City Council to approve the acquisition of a new, more powerful pumper to ensure the safety of the community. In a letter written to the Fire and Water Committee dated February 1st, 1928, Chief McGillan stated, "This fire taxed this department beyond its limits. I feel that it would be criminal for the city to take any further chances along this line. The necessary equipment should be purchased at once." Then finally, on May 17th, it was reported in the Post-Crescent that the City Council had approved the chief's request. Chief McGillan wasted no time and ordered a new pumper the following day. The purchase price was $12,000, which was a substantial amount of money right before the 1929 stock market crash. The average family income was around $1,500 annually. A new Ford Model A cost roughly $500, and a comfortable family home could be purchased for about $5,000. Adjusted for inflation, that $12,000 would be $235,000 today. So for comparison, the average cost of a brand new fire engine in 2026 is $1.2 million. The new fire engine was a 1928 Seagrave triple combination Model 6-WT. It was 23 feet long, weighed 7 tons, and could pump 1,000 gallons of water per minute. A significant upgrade from the 500 to 750 gallons per minute capacity of the first generation mechanical pumpers. That was impressive for the era. On the average, modern day fire engines pump water at around 1,500 gallons per minute. At the time of this purchase, the Seagrave Corporation was still in Columbus, Ohio. In 1965, it moved its operations to Clintonville, Wisconsin, following its acquisition by FWD Corporation in 1963. The engine was transported to Appleton by rail car, arriving on July 23rd. That same day, it was delivered to Appleton Fire Station number 1. I mean, it's crazy to think that this was almost 100 years ago, sitting right outside this window. The firehouse was located on the northwest corner here. Notice the original gold leaf and intricate scroll work patterns on these old vehicles. Still at this time, form was still as important as function with pretty much everything they manufactured. The Seagrave was put into service on July 30, 1928 as Engine Company number 2 and was stationed at Fire Station number 1. Later in its career, it would be reassigned as Engine Company number 5, which is what we all know it to be now. But we will get to that later. Engine 2 is seen here in the center with the blanket stretched between the headlights. Chief McGillan is the gentleman in the fedora. And here is the fleet in 1933. Excuse me. So whilst researching the history of the Seagrave in our archives, I discovered something in this photo that I had never noticed before. The officer here on the running board is my great-grandpa George Brautigam. He and William Hillman were the first 2 captains assigned to the Engine 2, one for each shift. And this guy on the tailboard is my grandpa, Mike Brautigam, who later he operated on here as a firefighter, and he also drove the rig later. My dad, Bob Brautigam, also rode on this Seagrave in the mid-1960s as a new firefighter. I will admit that my family's connection to this fire engine may have fueled my keen interest in the project. So we'll kind of go through some pictorial history here. This photo of Engine 2 was taken during the Labor Day Parade in 1940. This fireground photo is of the Peterson Press fire in 1942. Engine 2 was on the scene. This angle is looking to the northwest corner of State Street and College. So if you take a close look here, there's the same intersection today, Munchie's Pizza, so those two buildings are still there. And the Peterson Press would have been right there. Engine 2 was positioned across the street on the southwest corner, pumping water to some of the attack lines. This is driver engineer Emerson Turney operating the pump. You notice that they've added a windshield here. That was in 1941 they put that on. This is Engine 2 after it was reassigned to the new station number 2. This firehouse was built in 1942 for $3,000. It was placed down in the flats to expedite response times to the factories nearby. Many of them had been converted to munitions production for World War II. By this time, there had been several modifications made to Engine 2. The windshield was added, the wooden running boards and tailboard had been replaced with steel diamond plate. The original drum-style headlights were replaced with new cone-shaped ones, and the body had received fresh paint job with new lettering and gold leaf bands outlining the body panels. Here's another view of that same building as it sat on the east side of what was then South Law Street, now Vulcan Street. And it would have been sitting right about here. This is looking southwest. You can see the Houdini sculpture there, and this is the Fox Trail. So if we compare street maps, we can see that in 1946, the Lost Street Bridge went straight across the river in line with Vulcan and came down to across the other side of the bridge. The 2026 map shows how they curved it to the east and rerouted it, no longer attached to Vulcan Street. But the fire station, to my best estimation, sat right here. Here's a peek into the apparatus bay of Old Station Number 1. Engine 2 is on the right. The ladder truck you can see is perpendicular in the back. They entered from a side building on Washington Street, and these rigs would respond out onto Oneida Street. This is looking east on Washington Street. Station 1 is right here, and this is the Conway Hotel for reference. And this is the Washington Street side of Station 1 in approximately 1960. In 1963, after 35 years as Engine Company Number 2, our rig was reassigned as Engine Company Number 5 and placed at Old Station Number 3 on Badger and College Avenue. Within a couple of years, Engine 5 was made a reserve pumper. Another view from that day. Anybody recognize this guy on here? Jigs Feelauer. And he was only on the job for a couple years at this time. These are some AFD retirees with Engine 5 right before its final parade appearance on Labor Day in 1966. You can see the old training tower in the background. Here's another shot from the parade. Roy Burmeister is driving. I'm able to identify him. And how perfect is it to have the new Zilke Building in the background of the parade that was making its final run for this picture. Retired Battalion Chief Les Caston, the only surviving crew member to ride the Engine 5 on that day for its final appearance, is pictured here standing on the tailboard right there. He was a rookie firefighter that year. This past Memorial Day, 60 years later, we were able to finally debut the refurbished pumper in its second first parade appearance. And Chief Caston, now in his 80s, was invited to ride along in celebration of the milestone. He is wearing the white dress cap sitting next to the driver. This photo recreation was captured by John Adams of the photo op. October 11th, 1967, with 39 years of service to the city of Appleton, Engine 5 was decommissioned and traded in towards the purchase of a brand new Peter Persch pumper, and then it was gone. The fate and whereabouts of Engine 5 remained a mystery for many, many years. Then, in July of 2011, we were contacted by a gentleman named Willie Phillips of Rockford, Illinois. Mr. Phillips informed us that he was in possession of our old fire engine and he wished to offer us the first right of refusal to buy it. Within a couple of weeks of receiving the call, a group of us traveled to Rockford to verify the rig's authenticity and assess its condition. And this is what we found. Willie told us he had received it as a gift in the 1980s from his friend Bill Latham, who was a fire engine collector. Based on the photos I had brought down from the AFD archives, there was no doubt this was our old Engine 5. The dress cap you see sitting on the fender, right there, that was found in the side compartment with the name written on it. It said R. Carlson. I was later told by an AFD retiree that on that day that Engine 5 left Old Station 3 with its new owner, one of the guys had discreetly taken firefighter Ron Carlson's dress cap and snuck it into the side compartment, never to be seen again, or so they thought.
Probably didn't miss it.
Engine 5 appeared to be in very good original condition. Willie claimed it was drivable the day he backed it into his shed. This is the hand-painted pump chart mounted next to the pump panel. It was used by the driver engineers to calculate the proper water pressures needed to get the most out of the nozzles on the fire ground. We still have pump charts on the rigs today too, to do the math. Here's a peek under the hood into the engine compartment. During its 30-some year tenure in Willie's pole barn, our pumper had experienced lots of dusts, pigeon droppings, and a raccoon or two, as you can see by the little footprints on the windshield. And then looking closer at the dashboard, it became clear that the AFD old-timers must have been very proud of this rig's ability to throw large amounts of water, thus its nickname. Some of the original 2.5-inch hose lines, extinguishers, and axes were still in the hose bed. Willie's non-negotiable price of $12,000, we had to stick with that. Coincidentally, the same amount that the city had paid for it brand new back in 1928. I told Willie we needed some time to think about it, even though we knew right away that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and that we had to find a way to get it back to Appleton. With majority approval of the AFD members and the blessing of Chief Len Vanderweist, we committed to moving forward. I brought the idea to the recently formed Friends of the Appleton Fire Department 501c3 and asked them if they would assist us with the fundraising so we could purchase and restore Engine 5 to drive in parades, be a backdrop for public education, as well as be the crown jewel of our historical collection. They agreed and the fundraising was begun. Within a year, we had raised the $12,000 to make the purchase. Here I am with Willie sealing the deal. Willie was a character, that's for sure. We loaded her up and headed back to Appleton. Fire service has a tradition of pushing new apparatus into the station by hand for the first time it enters. It is to honor the days of when the firefighters used to have to push horse-drawn rigs back into the stations after every call. We cleaned her up and started making plans. Fundraising efforts soon began to raise funding for the restoration. And this is the first time we tried to start it up. You might recognize that guy. He's sitting in the back there. His hair's a little more white now, but Mark Evel was a huge help to me in this whole process. I thank you, Mark. Okay, after reaching our fundraising goals to begin mechanical restoration, it was sent to Red Power Diesel in Wyowega to assess its condition. The engine needed to be completely rebuilt. We then found a restoration expert, Jim Carew, down in Bristol, Wisconsin, who agreed to take on the restoration. Engine 5 was delivered to a shop down near the Illinois border. Jim tore down the engine and began the mechanical restoration. He was a retired firefighter who came highly recommended, having rebuilt 40 old fire engines in his career. Finding and or manufacturing parts for such a rare piece of equipment proved to be extremely challenging and time-consuming. We had no choice but to remain patient. He worked on it for nearly 10 years. After Jim reached an impasse with the restoration, we decided to proceed with a different plan. And Engine 5 was then transported back to Appleton and brought to the newly opened Classic Mechanics on Northland Avenue. Their expert team got right to work. The motor had to be taken out a second time in order to replace 3 of the original pistons and jugs that failed to function properly when they first fired it up. So here's by putting it back together, you can see the progress. So when we say restoration and refurbishment are 2 different things in what we wanted to do. The mechanical portion of the rig we wanted to have fully restored to all as new as it could be. And the rest of the body is that we decided to more refurbish it, to kind of bring it back to what it looked like when it left. We decided not to repaint the whole thing and shine up every single little piece, because it looked so good when we cleaned it up that we said, let's make it look like it did in 1967. So it was an exciting day when we were able to finally hear the motor running. We added the tailpipe to that right behind the wheel there, because this thing was so loud, it sounded like a B-52 taking off. And we figured that we didn't need to do that anymore. In parades would appreciate it more. So in May of 2025, 14 years after that first phone call from Willie, the mechanical restoration was completed by Classic Mechanics. Engine 5 was now drivable and street safe. This is Pat, Scotty, and Brock from Classic Mechanics. Their expertise was instrumental to our success. we could not resist a detour down College Avenue to rip the strip on Engine 5's maiden voyage back to Station 1 from Classic Mechanics. Our dedicated team of AFD volunteers got right to work refurbishing the body of Engine 5. Here's Casey working on the latch repair on the compartment door. We primed and repainted the tailboard and running boards. We did a clear coat on the original paint job, and it just transformed it, and we were so glad that we decided not to do a complete paint job on it, because it turned out great. All of the antique firefighting equipment now aboard Engine 5, with the exception of the larger wooden extension ladder, came out of our historical collection. The nozzles and the light. This axe and the light were both original to Engine 5. You can see on the light it says E5 on it to make sure that one of the other rigs didn't take it back in the day. Now for a few before and after photos. Most of the cosmetic work done to Engine 5 was completed over the years by AFD members. Whatever we could do, we did ourselves. This is the original battery box before, and that was after. Here's the tailboard before, and then after. And we took all those old hoses to Brilliant Fire Department with Mark and ran them through the hose washer to try to clean them and got them as best we could, but we did load them back into the rig, so we wanted to keep it as authentic as possible. We hired a professional graphic artist to touch up the faded lettering and gold leaf banding. The goal was not to make it look brand new, but to bring it back to just enough to match the natural patina of the rest of the body. And here's how it turned out. He absolutely nailed it. We're so happy. After the mechanical restoration and much of the cosmetic refurbishment were completed, the Friends of the AFD offered to sell Engine 5 back to the fire department for $1. We had a conditional gift agreement drawn up for the city to sign. The contract specifies that if the city ever decides to sell Engine 5, the first right of refusal to purchase it for $1 will go back to the Friends of the Appleton Fire Department. If they decline or are no longer in existence, the Appleton Historical Society will have the next right of refusal under the same terms. Should they also decline or cease to exist, the right will then pass to the History Museum at the castle. It's been our mission to ensure that this historical treasure will never leave Appleton again. So if you hear that they're trying to sell it, make sure you say something. So the city agreed to our proposal, and the title was officially transferred over. After 59 years, Engine 5 was rejoining the AFD fleet. A volunteer team comprised of Appleton firefighters, also known as the Dirty Dozen Pit Crew, will now be responsible for the care and management of old Engine 5. The pumper is parked in the rig room at Station 1, where it will serve as the centerpiece of the AFD Historical Collection. It will also participate in Appleton parades, appear at the MDA fundraising sites, and serve as a backdrop for public education events. Thanks to the outpouring of generosity by many local businesses and hundreds of individuals, Engine 5 is ready for its second tour of duty as the grand symbol of community service in the city of Appleton. We deeply appreciate everyone who has contributed and supported this campaign. I would like to thank also Chief Jeremy Hansen and his staff for helping us get Engine 5 across the finish line. Moving forward, the Friends of the AFD will be responsible for covering maintenance costs and ongoing cosmetic improvements to Engine 5. It will not be taxpayer money. For those interested in contributing, your tax-deductible gifts can be shared online at afdfriends.org. Another option would be to scan the QR code on the banner we have on the back table. For those of you not so technically inclined, we have this repurposed antique fire extinguisher in the back that you can just drop your donations into. So we really will be relying on donations to keep her on the road. I apologize that we were not able to bring the rig down tonight due to the weather. It would have been nice to share that with you. We'll have to keep an eye out, and in the future I'm sure we'll do this again somewhere, or even if it's just a show and tell. So follow the Appleton Historical Society's website and Facebook page, and hopefully we can make that happen. And that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the project or about firefighting or anything you can think of right now. Yes.
Who is actually the Friends of the Appleton Fire Department? Is it just everybody and anybody, or is it all?
No, it's a board of directors, and it's a 501c3. So their purpose, it was organized in like 2010, and what they do is through fundraising. It's made up of a couple of firefighters from the department and then outside members of the community. And the purpose, their mission is to raise money to make purchases of equipment and like exercise equipment or thermal imaging cameras, anything that's above and beyond the fire department budget for that year. They bought electric saunas for the stations because research showed that after a fire, a firefighter can get into a sauna and sweat out the toxins. So they're there to kind of support the needs of the fire department that aren't being met by the city. And like I said, any donation to them is tax deductible. You get a receipt to turn in. Did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, the steering wheel is on the other side of this.
Right.
Is there some story I don't know that explains that?
Well, when the motor cars first were on the road, I was told that was the steering wheel was put on the right-hand side because that was where the driver of horse-drawn vehicles tended to ride, and so the tradition kind of carried on. Other than that, I haven't. They ended up switching it over, obviously, but that was the best explanation I could get. I thought it was with the fire engines, it would make it so the driver could spot pulling up to a fire hydrant better, but it turns out that's not the case. So.
A lot of European countries, they still drive on the other side.
Yeah.
So,
Anybody else?
So how many members of your family drove that or rode on it?
3 before me and me. So I got to drive it in the parade, so that was pretty cool.
so are you like the designated driver, or does it switch?
For now, I am. For now, I've got my team of guys. We're starting to train them how to drive it as well. So we'll have a pool to draw from if we've got an event, and we're going to be flexible with what we do with it. We want it to be out on the road in the summer months. We want it to be seen. We want it to be a part of the community. And so we're going to train 6 or 8 guys and kind of have a revolving group of people that can do that. And then I'm kind of gearing up to pass the torch here, hopefully just be a consultant someday with this project. But
Because I assume it's a stick shift, it's not an automatic.
no, it's kind of a complicated. It's different than a regular stick shift. It's a double clutch, and it's basically like driving a giant tractor, but you have to you adjust the idle and the throttle on the steering column. It's kind of like a Model A would be, I guess, but there's a learning curve to it for sure. And steering it it's more like wrestling it to no power steering or anything. So
that was my question about how difficult was it to drive? Because when you look at the steering wheel, you see all those gadgets on there. And now, and then also the levers on the side there, were those brakes or?
One of the levers is a handbrake.
To stop that thing?
Well, it's a backup. It's because there is a brake pedal on the floor, but they're mechanical brakes, so there's two ways of stopping it. Just you can do the floor pedal or you can do the handbrake, and then the other lever is a shifter.
Oh my gosh, that doesn't sound easy to drive.
No, but once you get familiar with it, it's pretty fun. And I've never had more people wave at me than driving around town with that thing. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's great.
So what's the top speed on that baby?
We've had it to like 35. It probably could do 45, but I'm not willing to do that. The brakes have been redone, so they're brand new brake shoes, but it's an old vehicle. There's no reason to push it.
No.
Are those leather seats?
Yes.
And how come they didn't have any cab?
It just, I don't know why they didn't, but that was the norm, And so imagine going out in the sleet and snow in the middle of the night to go fight a fire, and so it wasn't until the early '80s that they started having closed cabs, like full closed cabs, and so.
Do you think some of that was just for the ease of speed of getting in and out of it? Maybe, or they just, I can't imagine they would, because, the Model T's all had, it's not like that was something that.
I don't know if it was from what I've heard and read, it was as much so they could have full visibility, because a lot of times they were spotting fires by someone in the tower, or someone said the junkyard's on fire or whatever, and then they could see where it was, because the communications were telegraph, and so then someone would ring the fire bell back when it was volunteer, and then everybody would go. So that's the explanation I got. Give them more peripheral.
I remember I'm sure that it must have been the fire engine they used during the Second World War to drive to town. And then you had to turn off all your lights.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Go into the dark.
With practice for blackouts?
Blackouts, yeah.
I don't know. That's probably a good chance.
I remember it coming, you could hear it coming and going through town. And then you had to turn all your lights off, close the drapes. You're too young.
Well, thank you.
Why do some of the vehicles have larger tires in the front than in the back?
I think that's an illusion with the proportion on. Are you referring to this picture?
No, go back pictures.
Well, they're all the same size as far as I know. Mark, is that? Oh,
Yeah.
she was wondering why some of the vehicles had the front tires were bigger than the back tires, but.
I think most of it's an illusion. They're pretty much the same all the way around.
Okay.
Even on, today's trucks, the tires will be different on the back for dualies than they have on the front steer axle. I think on this truck they're the same.
Okay. Yeah, they are the same. Anybody else have any questions at all about any part of this?
Kevin? The groundlanders are original to the truck, or were those out of the?
The junior extension ladder and the roof ladder were original. They came back with it. Well, we had the junior extension ladder in our archive, and then we purchased the larger 20-foot extension ladder, and then we restored it. The firefighters stripped it down and redid it. So, but everything else on there is all AFD stock.
So would you say that it's easier to fight a fire now than it was years ago on that thing?
It's still putting the wet stuff on the red stuff. That's basically what it is. It's just a matter of the biggest thing is having enough water. Ensure the excess with, modern ladder aerial trucks, to get to a roof, that's a lot better. But it hasn't changed, but they got the job done for the most part with almost nothing on the rig, equipment-wise. Nowadays, you go into the new fire engines, and there's 50 compartments in it, it's packed with every tool and everything you could possibly need for any possible situation, because that's what the way firefighters are, they gotta be prepared for everything, so.
Now, you've had a siren on there, and then also the bell,
Yep.
and you rang both of them at the same time?
You had the option of doing both of, the officer would have the cord, and he'd probably ring the bell as they're going down the street. And then the siren is actually underneath, and the driver could push a button below the seat, and it was a mechanical siren, so it pulls it over to the flywheel, and that mechanically spins that siren.
Was that original?
Yes.
So do you take it to car shows?
I've had it at the Pierce Park Car Show. We did License to Cruise last year, and Classic Mechanics in the summer, every other month, they do a Cars and Coffee, where they do a mini car show, and we've had it out there. So, moving forward, we haven't decided, how often we're gonna take it to car shows, but, yes, we have had it out. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out and sharing your time with us tonight, and thanks to Brad. Good luck with your endeavors.